The last time I did one of these videos, there's a lot of positive feedback and there was a lot of, I wouldn't say negative feedback, a lot of concerned feedback. But they had a problem with, I guess, some of the specific subjects I was talking about within the video. Which I'm not saying is problematic or that these people were pissed off or like any of that. This is an open forum for discussion, so honestly, please, if you don't agree with something, don't just hide it. Please, please, please comment, because it didn't make me feel any type of way at all. It actually just let me know how I should proceed with these videos. As someone who is newly-ish diagnosed, I'm still learning about a lot of triggers with this illness. So basically, I'm still new at being, or that's weird to say, I'm still new at living with anorexia. So please, bear with me. So I did a video, I can't remember exactly how long ago it's been, and I definitely could look it up online, but whatever. I think it's been about maybe 2 months. I've officially gone into eating disorder recovery, or whatever you want to call it. It's been about 2 months since I've been able to say, hey, I'm living with anorexia, or I have anorexia disorder, or I restrict my eating. And it's been about 2 months, I'd say, since I've divulged the information to my medical professionals, or at least divulged all of the information. Because before, I would talk about it being a problem, but I would never tell them the severity of the problem. And when I say the severity of the problem, I mean they would know that I would restrict my eating sometimes, blah, 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 but they didn't know that it would be no food for days, for a week. And that's been a thing, and that I severely feel terrible about myself when I eat. They didn't know any of that, but now they do. Actually doesn't make me feel happy inside. It actually makes me feel sad, because it's everyone knows my secret, which means I actually have to work on it, which means eating food. That's the most confusing part about this whole thing, to be honest. In all honesty, it's been hard, and it's been hard in the sense that it doesn't feel like I'm making a lot of progress. It doesn't feel like I'm making a lot of progress in a lot of my mental illnesses. When I say a lot of them, I mean my bipolar disorder, my complex trauma / developmental trauma disorder, my ADHD, which has gotten significantly worse. Yeah, they're all kind of just stagnant. Nothing really seems to be changing. But I guess because I'm trying the good practices and working on all the good habits and trying to seek help, and owing to the fact that I'm so just astonishingly self-aware, I guess that means things are going better than they were. But at the same time, things are pretty shitty still. So it's I don't know. I've been eating more food. I've been trying to hydrate more, but the problem is that, it comes in waves. I'll go 4 days where I'm not worried about, my weight, not worried about what I'm eating, not worried about, or not restricting what I'm taking in. I won't say necessarily I'll have 3 meals a day, just because I haven't done that in years. Literal years, that sometimes I honestly just forget that you're supposed to have 3 meals a day. And I think that's typically breakfast I'll forget about, which when you really think about it is most of America. So not saying that's a good thing, but I'll go 4 days and then I'll be triggered by something. Sometimes, I won't even know what that is. And then I'll all of a sudden start restricting myself again. And that restriction will typically last. I don't think that's lasted a full week either. I think it'll go 3 or 4 days as well. And then I'll go back to eating. And it kind of is going through that cycle of things, which is why I feel better. According to my doctor, I look better, because apparently a few months ago I was looking kind of sick, sick as in skinny. But it's the setbacks that are really killing me, because even though I'm eating more food or I'm hydrating more, it's all, again, as I think I've said this in previous videos, this is coming from, my starting point from all of this was I would go days without eating anything, and if I did eat, it would be I'd have some crackers or some cookies, or typically something sweet, because if I'm not eating, I can eat all the candy in the world, because nothing else is being consumed. I'm consuming less than 500 calories a day. So then why not? Obviously that's not good, because there's no nutritional value in candy, and that's the problem I'm having, is that my body, and I've come to say my brain, because honestly when I say my body is being starved, it does nothing emotionally for me. But my brain is also being starved, which is sad to think about. And with that, obviously, if you restrict your eating and you're living in the lifestyle that I have lived, you know, it affects other things. So I'm having a lot of other physical problems, and I'm having a lot of cognition problems. I'm having a lot of these other problems that originally, you know, they could be ADHD, they could be bipolar disorder, they could be a mix of everything. But the biggest, most easiest thing to rule out, if we need to rule it out, or slash to point to, is that I'm not providing my body with the nutrition it needs to survive, which is why it literally feels like each day, not every day, but on some days it really does feel like my body is like giving out on me. If I'm not like feeling like I'm gonna faint, it's something else. So yeah, that's the bad part. That has not been fixed. It's been slowed, but not fixed. Making sure I'm not stuffing myself versus like making sure I'm also satisfying my caloric and nutritional needs. I've noticed that during the times in which I'm not really thinking about the food, I'm not sure if it's the definition of binging, but I do overeat. And I think I've isolated the fact that I overeat not because I'm feeling full. I am feeling full, and I'm feeling like, oh my God, like it's like the most uncomfortable feeling I've had in a while, and it hurts a lot. I originally thought it was because my stomach had just shrunk and it was smaller and not used to eating all the food. But now I've come to think of it maybe more as binging during those periods of times, because like I went to the grocery store one weekend, and I'm pretty sure I went back each and every day and bought the same things, like a box of cereal. And it's like, bitch, how the fuck did you go through a box of cereal in a day? Things like that. Whereas like a box of cereal typically would last me. It's because I'm eating bowls and bowls and bowls because I am so hungry when I'm not thinking about food. And it's probably because I don't eat food normally. The other one though, besides like feeling full, but it kind of goes in line with it maybe, is some body dysmorphia that I might have. I don't really know, but I've been told by friends that maybe I have this, but again, not by a doctor. Like right now, looking at the camera, I feel like I look fine. My face is a little bit larger than I would like it to be, but other than that, like I'm not displeased with my look or my appearance. But that changes every day, every second, every hour. It changes based on the mirror I'm looking at, and like I know that mirrors are different based on the angles they're at, and like different mirrors show different things, but like the way I see it is completely different than what I would think would be normal. It also happens when I'm full. So if I've eaten a meal, regardless if I'm stuffed eating or after binging, or if I'm just like normally full, I'll look in the mirror and I'll feel different. Which, you know, I might be quote unquote larger in the stomach area, but like not like by any pounds necessarily. It's not like I eat a meal and I gain 20 pounds. But that's how I feel. I also talked to my doctor about 2 weeks ago, and I told them that in the past, whenever I've started to regain the weight, because, you know, I never really realize when I snap out of it. Like when I snap out of my restricting habits, it kind of just happens. I don't really notice that I'm eating more food, or I don't notice that I'm gaining weight until I'm gaining the weight based on my clothes, or like I'll try on clothes and I'll be like, this size, I wear a size 28 now, so it'd be like, this size 28 doesn't fit me anymore. Why is that? I look the same. And I was telling my therapist that I look the same regardless of what weight I'm at. Like now looking back on it, I can see that I was a lot larger, not like a lot larger, but I was larger significantly, like in the face, and visually larger than I am now. I can see that last year and just from, you know, the past. But in the time as it's happening, I don't see that happening because I always look the same to me, no matter how I look. Because to me, I'm always the same size. I always look the same, no matter if I'm eating more food, no matter if I'm eating less food. So right now, in my mind and in my feeling, in my body and spirit, or whatever you want to say, I look the same as I did last year. So I've listed all of these bad things, and I've told y'all about, like, just, especially recently, if you've been following this channel, a lot of times I'm talking about all of the bad crap that I do or engage in or think, and there has not been a lot of therapeutic stuff besides like, oh, I know this is happening, I've admitted this is happening, but it's not really changing. It's kind of like how I've been in the past year, just kind of stuck in that cycle. But you guys, finally, for the wrong reasons, the reason being that my body is literally deteriorating, and I actually am very happy, not depressed, and I want to live. I want to live as a normal person and not as a vegetable who's like hooked up to a machine, because things like kidney failure and all that just sound like freaking fucking terrible. I'm not good with pain, and I can't. That's like the last thing I would want next to being depressed. Both of those things, But the biggest thing I've been doing is telling people, no one, a few people close to me knew this, but they would forget it maybe, or, not think much of it, because honestly, I would not stress it and I would not think much of it. If they brought it up, I would always just say like, no, that's not it. I just don't eat a lot. I'm a small person. Or I would lie and say I ate this. Like it was not a big part of my life. So now I'm making a big part of my life. Telling my family slowly, and telling my friends, telling my medical professionals, and not just telling them, but like being 100% honest with them in the sense that like, hey, I'm not just restricting my eating, but I flat out like don't eat. Or this is really embarrassing to admit because it just sounds so dumb. It just sounds so dumb. But there was a few weeks ago, for the first time this has ever happened, and it's happened since then, which is even worse. I was going to go to my favorite taco place because I love tacos, can eat there all the time, blah, blah, blah. But when the tacos came, I actually felt very emotional, like getting ready to eat them. I felt like I wanted to cry because I was having to eat tacos. Like I felt as though I really, really did not want to eat the tacos because I didn't want to be larger. I didn't want to gain weight. And like 4 tacos are not going to do that to you, bitch. On top of that, not only was I sad and emotional over not wanting to gain weight, I was sad and emotional about not being able to eat my damn tacos. I couldn't do it. And I don't remember if I was hungry or not, but that was the first time where there was that sort of dissonance within me, because if I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. If it's brought to me, I'm going to eat, especially tacos. So that was the first time where I was like, okay, I'm crying almost in public over having to eat like 3 or 4 tacos. Like, this is a problem. And I hadn't had any other food that day. This is a problem, bitch. You need to get it together. Like, fix it. Some of the other random things that I do that I've just noticed helps is eating with other people. So I try to eat a lot of my meals with friends. And I also try to eat my favorite foods that get me excited, foods that I'm excited to try, which unfortunately leads me to eating out a lot. But if we're being honest, I never use my kitchen anyway, or I never cook. Beyond eating with friends and eating my favorite foods, this is 100% me self-medicating, which I hate using that word because I feel as though it has a negative connotation. But self-medicating literally is what half of America does. Yes, in a negative way. But also I feel like, if you take Tylenol for a headache, technically that's self-medicating. It's not like I'm over here just popping pills. But I self-medicate with cannabis in the sense that if I partake in using cannabis, then I'm getting the munchies and I'm getting hungry. And then I eat. And it's very, very hard for me not to eat when that happens. Because, bitch, I'm hungry. Obviously, though, you can't partake in cannabis 24/7 all day around. You can, and we've tried that before in the past. But, I can't do that anymore. So it's not, really a sustainable way of recovery / sustainable way moving forward. Because all the feelings and thoughts and emotions that circulate food for me are still there. So because, my physical problems are just increasing, in terms of me not eating and me causing my body damage, potentially, if this were to continue, damage that is long term and irreversible, which would be catastrophic for myself because again, I'm not trying to die, and especially if I do die, I'm not trying to die a painful death. So because of that, I've taken another leave from work. I have a whole nother video on that. I'm not even sure if I told y'all that I took a first leave from work, but because I'm not eating enough food, not only do I not have the energy to do things most of the days, my cognition is just fucked in a sense of thinking, memory, all of that is just completely messed up. So that's what we're really trying to prevent. So I have not started yet, but I have initiated contact. I've gone through the insurance stuff. I just need to do a few more screenings, a few more medical exams, but it looks like I'm going to be going into a partial hospitalization program, which I've done already. It was not for an eating disorder. It was for major depressive disorder and possibly anxiety that I was suffering after a breakdown essentially, / my attempt at my life back in 2015. I'm not exactly sure how I should say that, but you get the point. I was struggling, and I went to a partial hospitalization program. What that is essentially is, again, it's partial hospitalizations. If you haven't heard of what a partial hospitalization program is, or if you haven't heard of, in PHP or intensive outpatient care, actually, I'm not sure if intensive outpatient is the same thing as partial hospitalization. But nonetheless, my program, the PHP program, you go for therapy / structured therapies of different kinds throughout the day. So my first one, I believe, was from 9 to 3:30, just like a job every single day This one, I think, is structured a little bit differently, and I think I'm actually there until like 8 p.m., which like I'm so terrified about, because that means I have to eat dinner there, and I don't want to do that because I don't want to eat dinner. But that's the whole reason why we're going, right? But essentially, it's meant to provide you with a more structured amount of care throughout the day, and then still allow you to go home to the comfort of your bed at night, because you don't necessarily need to be watched overnight or need to be cared for overnight. But for me, for example, I can tell y'all on YouTube all the good things I'm doing. I can tell my therapist, tell my psychiatrist all the good things I'm doing. But when it comes down to it, am I eating the meals I'm supposed to be eating? Am I doing the good practices I'm supposed to be doing? And it's like, sometimes, bitch, but like not all the time. So it's to kind of fix that and to just provide, I need more help. And the first partial hospitalization program I was in was fucking amazing, and I learned so much about my trauma, reasons why I'm so self-aware now. And honestly, it was kind of depressing to hear this, but also kind of hilarious in the sense that when I was doing my diagnostic for the program, the nurse on the other side of the line, because it was on the phone, she was like, oh, well, this was very fast. You gave me very detailed information, more information that I, may or may not have needed. But, most times I have to pry this information out of people. And, she was very, I wouldn't say surprised in a bad way, but she was just like complimenting me on how like willing I was able to give out information and how ready I was for this recovery. And it was like, yeah, because, we've been through this before, unfortunately. Not only that, but I've been in therapy since I was 4 years old. I kind of know how this goes, which makes me a little bit skeptical about the whole program in general. Because while I'm continually like coming up or like realizing things that I had no idea I did before, or patterns and behaviors that I had no idea were linked to a lot of my trauma that I was experiencing, and the reasons for all of this mess, I learn new things every day, and I am in no way an expert on these things, or no, I'm not a doctor or a professional. I'm not, like, I'm just me. I'm just like a 24-year-old guy, so I don't have any of that knowledge. I don't have any of the professional help. At the same time, though, I know a lot of different things, and it's like, I can't get help if I don't want to help myself. And the only reason why I'm going into this program is because I'm having these physical complications, and I don't want to have physical anything. If I was physically okay and physically fine, I would continue down this road and not give a hoot about what anyone said. I'm not sure if this is irony or whatever, but it's like, why would I tell people that I restrict my eating when I know they're going to make me eat and make me work on these things, just to kind of make my worst fear being gaining weight, come true? That seems counterintuitive, That, and I know like a lot of things already, and we're still doing the bad practices. Like, I know that a lot of these things are linked to my trauma. I know that the trauma, like, I know a lot. So then, like, why aren't things being fixed? Like, I thought becoming self-aware is like what fixes things. I mean, at least that's what kind of helped me in the beginning. Like, I didn't know anything about my trauma. I couldn't assign any thoughts or words to any of the things I was feeling, any of the actions I was engaging in. I had no idea. And once I did learn, I was able to mitigate those intense feelings and emotions that, were maybe kind of not always true, or, seemed random at the time. Now it's like, okay, I can assign words and thoughts and feelings, and I know exactly why I'm feeling like I'm abandoned and why I don't want to eat. I know exactly where the eating disorder comes from. But it's like, that's not enough to change it. And I guess that's why we're going into the partial program. But it also makes me nervous in the sense that, like, what's going to change besides me feeling uncomfortable every day having to eat in front of people? So, yeah. But that's besides the point. Obviously, I reached out to people about this program. I wanted to go to it. I did all these steps. No one's forcing me to go. The program is completely voluntary. All of that. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited to go. I'm excited to do all the good things, because I'm tired of not being well. I'm tired of this, like, consuming my life, and no one's going to help me unless I help myself. I'm going to realize that as well. It's another piece of the trauma. And it's just time to get this shit figured out with and over and done with. And I'm not saying that as in, like, I want to hurry up and speed through recovery. Again, I know recovery is a process, but, like, I'm ready to get this shit over and done with. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching this video, if you've made it this far. So if you liked this video, please give it a like. It lets me know that, it lets me know which videos I should be making and which videos I should not be making. And if you can relate, if you have any questions, if you just want to say hello, leave a comment. And of course, which you should have already done by now, but now that you've seen the whole thing, you can decide if this channel is for you. Please subscribe and turn on those subscription notifications for new videos each week. All right, y'all. Peace.